So today I want to talk about entrepreneurial energetics and the energy and the energetic work behind being a high level entrepreneur. So before we begin, I just want to tell a quick little story about why this is so important to me and why I have such a passion for the energetics of entrepreneurship. I was talking with a friend yesterday, and he is literally running and owns a $10 million. He runs and owns a company that is valued at about $10 million right now. Super high performing business individual. I have a ton of respect for this guy, ton of respect for how he does business, his mindset, just how he approaches problem solving and the way he approaches his business. I see him as someone who is even beyond myself. And we were chatting the other day, and basically, um, I was coming at like our conversation with this assumption that, oh, you know all about entrepreneurial energetics. You have this $10 million company. And he kind of responded to me with, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And so I was like, what? You don't know, you don't know Joe Dispenza, you don't know Abraham Hicks or Kevin Trudeau or any of these people. And he was like, no, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And so we began talking, and he was like, basically what came out was this sort of realization that if he wants to get from his like $10 million company to $100 million company, he's doing all the right things physically in his physical reality to get there. But to 10x where you're at is a lot of work. And like we are, our reality is built on all these like beliefs and um like all these like assumptions and expectations. And it's just really how we perceive the world and how we perceive ourselves. To illuminate what I'm saying, like, and I even said this in our conversation with my brother the other day, is there's this great quote by John D. Rockefeller that says, millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do. And I love this quote because it really does highlight the importance of energetics for entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is that like like you can get to a certain level by doing all the right things, right? All the right things that you're supposed to do, and you can even become a billionaire without knowing anything about entrepreneurial energetics. And what I know is that a lot of my friends who are entrepreneurs and who are building their businesses, they're so busy, they're so overwhelmed, and they have so much on their plate. They have such a big to-do list, and they have so many things that they're trying to get done that they feel like spending time working with energy is a waste of time and is a distraction from like getting things on their to-do list knocked out. And the irony is that all of the best entrepreneurs, all of the highest level business people throughout human history understand and know how to work with energy and entrepreneurial energetics, specifically the energetics inside their business. And just like to throw out a couple examples, right? John Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford, even like newer entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, um, even Joe Rogan, right? Glenn Stearns or Grant Cardone, some of these newer, like, modern billionaire entrepreneur types, they all understand the importance of prioritizing energy. And the reality is that everything in the world, everything in the universe is all energy. And so, even including money, right? Money is just a type of energy. And when we work with energy, what we're doing is we're clearing the blocks or the subconscious programs and patterns that are limiting us and the beliefs that are keeping us from achieving the next level in our entrepreneurial journey or in our financial journey or in our journey to abundance. And what I see is that I see so many men. I'm a part of this beautiful men's group in Boulder. And I hear so often men share their stories around their frustrations with people in their lives because not even people in their lives, but just like their frustrations in their lives revolving around not feeling like they have enough time or money to really pursue their passions. And like the thing that like is where I see this is so important to me is that like if these men had the time and money to do whatever they want whenever they want, they would be putting all of their time, money, and resources into improving the people's lives in their communities. Like all the people around them would thrive if all these men had the time, money, and space to just commit all their resources to helping support their own community. And be like, obviously, too, their families' lives would change as well. But I'm kind of going beyond like their personal lives and beyond their personal intermediate family and extending that to like other people who can benefit, thrive, and prosper in a world where men are empowered and have time to focus on the things that matter to them and that actually help their community. So, um, yeah, basically, let's go back to the quote now. Millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do, right? It's a great quote. And it really highlights, once again, the importance of energetics in entrepreneurship and business and finance. In fact, JP Morgan himself actually hired an astrologer to help him make investments. This is a true story. JP Morgan actually had an advisor on his mastermind, in his mastermind, who could consult him about the timing of which to make his investments. And he ended up making a shit ton of money by timing his investments with astrological patterns and predictions. So I hope that by now you're starting to at least understand a little bit um, why this is important. And I just need to kind of recenter myself and like think about where I'm going with this because really, like, I'm not even necessarily going to put this out there, but I do want this to be a foundation. And this is kind of like a brain dump to like figure out exactly how I want to target my audience and like communicate to them and through like newsletters and things like that. Because when I find that I go to sit down and write about this stuff, I sometimes can feel like a little bit blocked up. And so the whole purpose of this is to open my own throat chakra and my own sensory experience and my own like just like allow my wisdom to flow out of me. And so I think that the first thing that I want to talk about is really just the energy of the world and the universe. I mean, I already mentioned that everything is energy. And actually, we have a lot of science that can validate this claim, starting with Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is the father of general relativity. Um, and the founding father of relativity. And what he says is that, his work revolves around this whole math equation, E equals mc squared, which says that energy is equivalent to matter times the speed of light squared. Really, what this is saying is that matter is just a form of energy. And he basically spent a lot of his career um, working with this and proving that energy and matter are interchangeable. In fact, that matter is a type of energy. Fast forward not too long, like only a couple years actually, to Maxwell Planck. Okay, Max Planck. He is really attributed to being the founder of quantum physics. And he discovered this phenomenon called black body radiation, which basically is a type of electromagnetic radiation that like comes out of matter, right? So all matter that we see, we can only see a very small spectrum of light. If you look at the whole like spectrum of light and energy that exists in the universe, the visible light spectrum is like a super, super tiny, tiny sliver of that spectrum. And so, what Maxwell Planck said is that all matter is just emitting this like electromagnetic radiation that is actually detectable. And it shows that matter itself is a form of energy. Now, from there, Max Planck, he had several other contributions to quantum mechanics and physics in science. Basically, he um, discovered this particle that he called a Planck. It's a super, super, super tiny little oscillation of electromagnetic frequency that is basically the pixel or the it's like literally like the smallest, tiniest like vibration that you can that like makes up everything. To put it in perspective, a Planck, like if I had a Planck that was the size of a grain of sand, then the atom, okay, an atom, a hydrogen proton would be the size of this, the diameter of this atom would be from here to Alpha Centauri, which is the nearest star to our sun. So that's how small the Planck is. Like if a Planck was a grain of sand, then a hydrogen proton would be the size of the distance from Earth to Alpha Centauri. It's like several hundred thousand light years. I'm not exactly sure the exact distance. And really, that's not what this is about right now. So I'm just kind of giving you a brief history of physics and the quantum world to give you a sense of the scale of what we're dealing with. Like this is how small the Planck is. And basically, I'm kind of like getting a little caught up here because now I'm like thinking about the holographic principle and the fractal nature of the universe, which is totally tangential. It's related, but it's a little bit of a tangent for where I really want to go with this. So I'm just going to refocus here. And basically, we have all this science, right? That's validating that um, matter and energy are equivalent, and that really matter is actually a type of energy. And that includes the energy of money. So, how do we create more abundance for ourselves, really, is the question. How do we use energetic principles and how do we work with energy to make our lives easier and give ourselves more time and money and resources to contribute to our community? Yeah, I'm here. All right, sorry about that. My wife just came home from work, so just wanted to go greet her properly and make sure everything's good. And so anyway, I can't exactly remember where I was, but I do want to just at least take this time now to share a little bit of my story. And um just kind of deciding where to begin, you know, like because this is really one of the first times that I've really dug deep into my story and I'm realizing that like as far as it relates to entrepreneurial energetics, like there's not really a lot of context I have. So I'm kind of going to go back to the beginning here. And the beginning of my story really starts in college, right? And basically in high school, um, my family, we moved around a lot. My dad was in banking. He worked for Bank of America, and he was just kind of a regular employee in the corporate structure. And uh, because of that, we ended up moving around a lot. Basically, in the end of his career, he took a job in New York City and ended up working for Morgan Stanley. And what I saw was him give his life. He gave his life, he gave his time and his energy to this company, to this corporation, and like kind of expected to be taken care of and expected something in return for that. And at the very end of his career, he basically got replaced by a bunch of young interns that they could they could just essentially pay practically nothing to do the same job. And he kind of got a little bit screwed in the end. And so this was happening kind of at the same time. I was looking at colleges and starting to think about going to college. And he was really like, both my parents were pushing me to go to college and go to school, get a job, etc. The typical American dream and the American indoctrination into work life. And what's interesting is that I kind of just saw him struggle. I saw him kind of always just barely like not quite where he wanted to be. We were able to live in these upper middle class cultures and these towns and like little communities of upper middle class people, but we were always kind of on like the lower tier of it and just like barely keeping up with the Joneses. And so like I kind of really didn't never really resonated with this whole concept of working for a company when you know and so when I went to college I studied economics, right? I studied really financial systems, and what became really obvious to me is that employees really are not, when you're trading your time for money, you're not really in a position of power. You're not in a position to be making decisions, and you're not in a position to be leveraged. You don't have a lot of leverage because you're limited to how much time you can actually put into that job, right? So like coming out of studying economics, I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I even like got a minor in entrepreneurship from CU Boulder. So go Buffs. Yes. Love. Hey, shout out to University of Colorado at Boulder. If anyone here is watching this, please refer to me. I would love to come speak at CU, whatever. Because I've had a great financial career. And So my story starts coming out of school with this minor in entrepreneurship and a major in economics. And so after studying economics, obviously the economics of selling a product or something similar, right? Or just having a good or service that you can scale is obviously a much more leveraged position to be in, right? Like, as in, you're not exactly trading your hours and your time for dollars to make money. So I always knew that I wanted to be a business owner. And actually, in 2015, shortly after graduating college, I started my first company, and it was a construction consulting company. And actually, a year later, I started my second business, which was a live sound engineering business. And I basically ran those two businesses for several years. I guess 2015, 2016, all the way until basically about a year ago, I sold my live sound engineering business to a local nightclub. It's called Co Clubs in Colorado. If you've ever heard of the Church or Vinyl or Bar Standard. I'm trying to think of some of the other clubs that they owned. But basically, Co Clubs, they launched a new nightclub, and I sold my business to Co Clubs. So they bought all of the capital equipment, and I helped them launch this new venue. I did all the engineering and it for the acoustics for it. Um, and made a great amount of income off that. Now, before I get too into now, I want to just backtrack because through these two businesses, I was making great money. Like, I mean, at 24, 25, it like really all through my 20s, I was super career driven and super focused on um making money and building like wealth. And I actually accumulated quite a bit of money and clients and contacts and resources um, that, I ended up buying a couple properties in Colorado for a really good price with some help of a local real estate agent and a local mortgage broker, as well as a local CPA, a professional tax consultant. So some of these professionals really helped me get to where I am today. In fact, especially my CPA, my tax guy, and the mortgage broker in particular. Obviously, the real estate agent too has been a huge asset throughout the years. But like, I feel like a lot of people in our culture and society know real estate agents. Like, real estate agents are a dime a dozen, unfortunately. I love you, real estate agents. I love real estate, but there's a lot of fucking real estate agents. Not very many people know a mortgage broker. Okay. And a mortgage broker is really a key component of your network for if you want to buy real estate assets. Now, basically, um, so I was making all this income right in my 20s, and I had all these like super ambitious goals that I ended up hitting. So I bought my first property in 2016, and I bought my first investment property in 2017. Now the net worth of these homes is now just a little over $2 million. So um basically, outside of my businesses, outside of my working businesses where I'm earning income, my net worth has grown to about $2 million. And I haven't even like marketed, sold, tried distributing any type of product or service through the online space yet. So I know a little bit about business. I don't know. I'm not like Grant Cardone. I'm no Robert Kiyosaki, but I do know that I have value and I have a lot to offer because, like, my personal perspective on this is focused around energetics. And back in 2015, when I was starting my businesses, that's actually when I met my Reiki teacher and began studying Reiki. For those of you who don't know what Reiki is, it's a form of esoteric energy cultivation where we use energy to heal our bodies and influence the world around us, even manipulate the world around us, because everything is energy. So by working with energy, you can literally create, be, do, or have anything that you want. So, like, a lot of Reiki practitioners are really focused on healing. And honestly, healing is an absolute essential component to the human experience. I mean, I broke my back in 2014, my senior year of college, a week before graduation. And like when I first met my Reiki teacher, I was in desperate need of some deep healing work. I had been letting these other individuals have a little control over me. I didn't have a lot of control over my life, and I had this really toxic business partnership that was, I was basically putting up with a lot of shit to maintain the health and success of the business. And I kind of created this whole situation where I basically was allowing this business partner to do all this like super manipulative, toxic shit to me for the sake of the success of the business. And, you know, looking back, I don't necessarily regret any of that, but simultaneously, like knowing what I know now, I would have done things much differently, obviously. But such an important part of my growth and development as a human, as a spiritual person, an energetics professional, a Reiki master, and especially as an entrepreneur. So, um, basically, I accrued all this wealth and money and purchased these homes, and shortly after, I experienced my first taste of what it's like to start to go bankrupt. Um, I basically began a real estate development project on one of the properties I own to do this huge, huge development. It was a 2,500 square foot, um, essentially commercial style workshop, all steel and concrete fabbed workshop to conduct business specifically for my live sound engineering and my construction business, so that I would have a workshop to work out of. And shortly after committing myself to developing this, like I you know done all the permitting and purchased the entire building, and even done concrete, electric. Like I sank about approximately $150,000 into this project. And my business started to go a little bit sideways. My expenses got really high. My income kind of stayed at the same level, but all my expenses went up so dramatically. I like started seeing that this is not working, and I started getting stretched really thin. So, um, yeah, I basically share this because, like a lot of what I share on social media is kind of focused around like my success. I share my success. I share the wins. I share like what it took for me to actually acquire some of these assets and to actually get to where I got to on social media. However, I haven't really shared a lot of the struggle that it took to get there. And basically, looking back on what made me so successful with, financially at least, with these businesses prior to purchasing the homes, was really the energetic work that I put in, the money blockages and my own subconscious thoughts and my own like self-esteem and my own self-perception, was really the deep inner work that it took to put myself in a position to be able to even buy these houses. When I made the decision that I was going to invest in real estate and buy these homes, I had no money. I had systems that were bringing in money, but like I didn't actually have like a real savings. And a lot of people, I think, tend to have this perception of like, well, maybe if I had the money, I could have done what you did. And it's like, realistically, when I decided that I was going to do this, I didn't have any money. I had ways of getting money and I had ways of bringing in lots of income, but I had no savings. Like I was blowing shit on sound systems and vacations and just I was in my 20s. I was just spending money like it would never end. So, you know, um I say this because I hear so many people who describe their desires, right? And they describe what they want with such clarity. And then all of a sudden, when the concept of money or the concept of how it's going to happen enters, all this doubt creeps in and they basically start, getting really down on themselves because they are not really sure how it's going to happen. And I share this to emphasize the point of like, you don't really need to know the how. Then this is the real secret of entrepreneurial energetics and using the law of attraction. I know this is the first time I'm bringing up the law of attraction, but the real the real secret to all this is literally just deciding clearly what it is that you want. Fuck the how. Who cares about the how? Because the how is going to work itself out if you have a clear intention that you are broadcasting with power and intensity. And if you can broadcast that intention with power and intensity over a long duration of time, then the how is irrelevant. It's just going to work. And the important thing is that you do the energetic work to allow yourself to receive what you do want. So basically, um, yeah, basically, um, I'm spacing a little bit where I'm going with this because I brought up so many things right there. But like, I just want to talk to you about how this really all works because we have been trained and conditioned to believe that the world works in a certain way. And like I said in the beginning, realistically, all of the highest level entrepreneurs, all of the highest level performing business people at the very, very top levels understand how to use the law of attraction, which is really just one system of energetics to manifest anything that you want. And um shit. Okay. I need to recenter. But so yeah, that's my story. Is that so basically, I I I had these businesses, I was making all this money. Um I I decided that I wanted to buy houses. And honestly, at the time when I made this decision, I knew nothing about real estate. I knew nothing about how any of this shit works. I just knew at that time that rich people put their money in real estate and that it's a good place to put money. So, um, like I just knew that that was a good place to start. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I knew nothing about assets versus liabilities. I knew nothing about like the fundamental concepts behind financial literacy, which is also partially what I'm talking about here. And that's more on the technical side as opposed to the energetic side. But um let's go into the energetics of manifestation, right? So like, I kind of discussed intention and being really clear and like doing the energetic work. But what exactly is the energetic work, right? Like how do we do the energetic work? And um the thing is that also, as I said at the beginning, most entrepreneurs feel, and I know this too from my own experience, like it's like when you're looking at like when the IRS when I owed the IRS $85,000, right? And they're threatening to seize my property, garnish my wages, and, like I'm simultaneously looking at foreclosing on the properties. Like, it's a really intense position to be in. And so when I was like in the thick of all that, and in the depths and the throes of bankruptcy and foreclosure, my insecurity was so activated that I was like, fuck the energetics. Who cares? Like, why even focus on that? Because all physical reality is so overwhelming right now that like I don't like, why even focus on meditation, right? Like that it feels like an extreme waste of time when I'm looking at like the intensity of what like all these external pieces are saying. And so um basically, eventually, right, like actually what was so great about this potential almost bankruptcy and foreclosure situation is that that's actually what really got me to start learning and studying financial systems, and like studying what financial literacy is, and beginning to understand what financial literacy means. Because even like looking at and like at my education with my bachelor's degree in economics, like we learned the fundamental concepts of economics being like if I sell 1,000 products for $1,000, right? I'll make $1 million, right? That's pretty easy math. That's really straightforward. But it's hard to like navigate that when when you're looking at like the like foreclosure. And so I guess what I'm saying is like basically this whole situation really got me to start studying like the energy of money, right? And so, a great example of what I'm talking about here with financial literacy, and I'm going to use this example. It's from Robert Kiyosaki's work. And if you don't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, he wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is like a super, super basic, like, it's like the most basic literature and form of writing on financial literacy. And what he says is that like your home that you live in, right, is not an asset. People call it an asset because it's worth money, because it's a store of value and there's equity in it. But just because there's equity in it does not make it an asset. And like the whole premise of this book is basically showing that because your mortgage costs you money every single month, that's what makes it a liability. And he emphasizes the importance of looking at cash flow over equity. So, like, basically, you could have you could have a $500,000 of equity in your home, right? And only owe 100K on the property. But you miss three payments and the bank's going to seize the whole thing and you get nothing, right? And so if you can't make your mortgage payment and you're having to trade your time for money and earn income to pay that mortgage is a liability. It's an asset for the bank because it's making the bank monthly income without having to work. And that's the real difference between assets and liabilities. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket without having to work. And a liability is something that takes money away from your or that is taking money out of your pocket, right? Like your mortgage. So back when I was doing all this, actually, how I mentioned that I had bought this investment property. It wasn't an investment property at the time. It was really a second home. I just had two houses and lived in one and ran the business out of the other, basically. So they were both liabilities. And when I started to go bankrupt and foreclose on them, like in learning about financial literacy, I learned how to turn what is a liability into an asset. And that was as simple as renting the second property out to a tenant so that they could pay the mortgage for me, right? And some, right? So it was the mortgage plus $500. That makes it an asset because I am making $500 a month on the asset. Now, but prior to that, the mortgage was like, you know, $2,000, right? And so prior to that, like that house was costing me $2,000 a month. So by turning it into an asset, what I mean is that it literally is generating positive cash flow, income every month without having to work. That is, in a nutshell, the basics of financial literacy. And so I really got to learn this firsthand. And actually, it was a really great experience looking back on it, but it wasn't exactly fun at the time. It was very painful. It was very painful to go through this. And that's why I want to share this, is because honestly, like we're not taught this. Like school is intentionally does not teach you about taxes. It does not teach you about cash flow. I even studied economics and business and entrepreneurship and finance in college, and not once did we talk about taxes or cash flow or assets or liabilities. Not once. And I even took accounting classes, right? And in accounting classes, we did talk about assets and liabilities and balancing a balance sheet. But the thing is that like they never explicitly like defined, I shouldn't say that because they actually did, but it was just like a sneaky, like it was like we looked at like a balance sheet from a perspective of like how a corporation would, right? So you have like all these employees and payroll and stuff like that. But like it was never translated into like individuals, like how your personal finances have a balance to them and how there's assets and liabilities to your own personal finances, right? So like that's why I really take this seriously and I really want to teach like, I see so many beautiful men that like are so powerful and so strong and so gifted and talented, but they're stuck in this like pattern of survival. And the power of financial literacy is like basically being like liberating yourself from this like institutional slavery that has been created for us by these corporations so that like they have a bunch of like really hardworking workers who aren't going to question the system. And so like I think that if we as individuals all understood this a little deeper and um had a way of actually analyzing this, right? Because really all it takes is a little bit of information and knowledge to grasp. Like these concepts are not difficult, right? They're not difficult to understand, but they're just like kind of backwards of how we're taught to think and behave. And so like that's why it's so important for me to come out and teach this. And like going back to the very beginning where I was talking about, my friend running this $10 million company, he's like, I don't really know any of this stuff. My response was, well, dude, like if you're looking to grow your company to $100 million, like you should really learn this stuff. Like this is really important for you. And I know that that's like his path and his goal and his vision and mission. So like, he really listened to what I had to say. And like it became extremely obvious to me that like because I assumed that he knew everything that I was talking about because I see him as such a high level individual, when he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, it became obvious to me that like, oh, this is really important for me to bring to this community. This is how I empower my community and how I influence my community in a really positive way. So Basically, I have developed a technique and a class and a process of how to manifest your desires. I'm calling this class Energetic Abundance. It's basically step for step how energy works, the universe, your own personal like energy field, and your subconscious mind, and how they all work together to create your reality, because all reality is subjective. And that's the significance of Max Planck's work and quantum physics. It's like literally like the expectation of the observer like creates an outcome. Like it's all like everything in quantum mechanics, like everything that could exist in the future exists in the quantum field. And like depending on how we think about it affects how reality manifests. And so basically it's like it's as simple as creating a desire, right? Here's basically the process, right? And there's several other layers to this, but I'm kind of jumping all over the place, and like I just need to get this. This is like a brain dump. It's feeling really good for me to just fucking spew all this out. Um, and I don't know exactly where I'm going now, because what's coming to mind right now is like the four basic steps of learning information from Kevin Trudeau, which is nothing to do with money, nothing to do with law of attraction, nothing to do with, well, maybe a little bit, but basically what it says is that is there when you're learning new information, there's four steps to learning it. Okay. You have unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. So let me break those four levels down. So the first level, you have unconscious incompetence. And what that basically means is that you don't know what you don't know, right? You're you are on like you can't know anything that you're not aware of, right? So like to use a super basic example, think about when you learned how to tie your shoes, right? You learn how to tie a shoelace. Before you actually knew that to tie a shoelace, you didn't even know that you didn't even know that tying your shoelace was a skill that you needed to have. You were unconsciously incompetent. You were unaware of the fact that you're incompetent in this thing. And then next step is that you became aware that you don't know how to tie a shoelace, right? So now like basically you have the awareness that, oh, I need to learn how to tie my shoelace, right? I know this sounds so simple, but I'm making a point here. Next step, someone shows you actually how to tie your shoelace. They show you the crisscross, the loop, and then you pull it. Right, great. So now at the conscious competence level, you had to practice how to become competent in tying your shoe. But you had to use your mind, your conscious mind, to like think about, okay, like how do I do this? I have to loop it here, and then finally you get to the unconscious competence level where you don't even have to think about how to do it. You just do it automatically. It's habitual. It's so ingrained into your pattern of being that like it doesn't actually take any conscious thought power to tie your shoelace. And basically, the real magic of all of what I'm talking about with entrepreneurial energetics, especially when it comes to our self-perception and our self-awareness and our self-esteem, is to become unconsciously competent at like our highest level of functioning. Meaning that like if you like we have these subconscious thought programs that create reality. And if you become aware of which thoughts are blocking you from achieving or being or doing or having whatever it is that you want, then you actually have to practice the new thought pattern that you want to instill in your life. So, like, I'll use another example here. Like, let's say you want to manifest $1 million, right? But you grew up with this idea that money is scarce and it's hard to get, and I have to work hard for it, right? So, a lot of the energetic work is undoing those beliefs around money that like are really limiting. Like thinking like, well, I have to work extremely hard for long hours to be successful. If you believe that, right, going back to quantum physics, then you will actually create a reality that will reflect that yes, you will have to put in a lot of work for long hours in order to make that $1 million. But in reality, right, there's some people who believe that they can become a billionaire after college or in high school or when they're 12, right? And it's all subconscious thought patterns and programs. And so, like, if you want to make that $1 million, you want to manifest that, it's all about becoming unconsciously competent around a new belief system that actually supports you having that $1 million. So basically, like if you if you grew up with that mindset of like money's scarce, money's the root of all evil, you know, basically you need to reprogram your brain and your mind and your body and your whole awareness into like understanding and feeling, like actually feeling and embodying that money is so abundant. It's so abundant. It's so abundant that I can have so much more. In fact, $1 million like is nothing. Like I could have way more than that, right? Like so, and it's about becoming unconsciously competent in these thought patterns. And that takes real work because like most people have been practicing and telling themselves stories that reinforce their beliefs, right? And we actually create beliefs through past experiences. So we have an experience that shows us that yeah, money is the root of all evil. And then like we use this story to justify why we didn't get what we want. And actually, the more we tell ourselves that story, the more we become unconsciously competent in the like in the limiting belief, right? And so like it is real work that we have to be constantly like aware of and working on at all times. Like even too, like if you were to come to one of my courses or coaching sessions or and we were to work together, right? And we were working on financial abundance, you could be consciously competent at money's abundant and I'm going to be a millionaire and all these things during our session, but it like it's really like if we're together for 2 hours out of the day, what are you thinking for the remaining 22 hours of the day? Right? And that's what unconscious competence is all about. It's all about like literally becoming so competent at the new belief system that like that abundance mindset is not something that you actually have to even apply effort to thinking about. It's just automatic. You're just living and being this magnet for abundance and like manifestation. And so uh, that's really the first step, right? And so from there, let me see here. From there, we have like meditation, right? Like meditation is super important for creating financial abundance. And like I said, like all high of the highest level entrepreneurs understand and know this because um, like their whole life, if you're unconsciously competent, then all of your life is this meditation. But what meditation actually does for your being is first of all is it creates safety, right? So like you cannot manifest anything if you are in fight or flight. And honestly, most people are living their lives with in fight or flight, which is what's called the sympathetic autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic autonomic nervous system controls the fight or flight reaction. And like in the body, that has to do with shallow breath. Um, and like really what's happening when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, it's your body is perceiving a threat. So basically, like your brain and nervous system is sending energy to your body to survive, right? You're in survival, and that's all that your body is able to do. It's only looking to survive this moment. And the really destruct like this is a great tool for humans like in the wild if you're getting chased by a bear or a lion or something, right? Like your brain is going to, or your nervous system is going to delegate energy to your muscles and to your heart and to like basically so that you can get away from the threat. Now the problem is that like most people are in fight or flight in this type of nervous system response when they're in traffic or going to work or brushing their teeth, right? And so, like, what ends up happening is like it creates a lot of distrust between themselves and the physical world. And really, when you're in fight or flight, you're signaling to your brain that it is not a safe time to create. Okay. So this is where like the term nervous system regulation, right, it comes in because like if you're calibrating your nervous system to the problems in your environment, then you are literally becoming unconsciously competent at like adhering to the danger and the fight or flight response. And so the problem with this is that your body is not able to give energy to anything else other than escaping the danger. So meditation is super important because in the meditation that I teach in energetic abundance, what we do is we actually connect our energy field to the center of the earth. Now, when our energy field is connected to the center of the earth is this like super supportive energy. I mean, it is grand. And like, I don't think that people really fully understand the power of grounding and the power of the earth. Like, because the earth is relatively small in like comparison to the universe, right? But it is an energy of creation. Like the earth itself is this massively creative energy, and it's this massively supportive energy. That's why it's associated with the feminine and like the motherhood, right? Because mothers are so nurturing and regenerative and rejuvenating, right? The essence of the feminine and of woman is like to like be nurturing and soothing and calming. So when we connect our energy field to the center of the earth, then like the parasympathetic nervous system, which is associated with rest and digest, can come online. And only when we're in like only when we're in the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, that is the only time that your body can heal. And it's the only time that your mind can create. So like having a grounding practice or a grounding routine or a grounding meditation early in the morning is super important for manifesting huge amounts of wealth and abundance because like like we need to feel safe in our external world in order for our minds to be signaled that we can create. And like if you're undergoing, foreclosure, bankruptcy, and the IRS is like threatening to like sue you for, six figures, like it's a very tough position to be in to find that sense of security and safety. But it is crucial that that happens, because if you don't, like, you're just stuck in fight or flight trying to survive. So, um, yeah. Also, when we're in fight or flight, like our energy, our cosmic energy is really constricted and contracted. Like it like cuts off the flow of energy because we're just like looking to survive. Um, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but let me just see here. Um, yes. So basically, the other aspect of meditation that is super, super important for manifesting anything is this concept of receiving. For years, especially, I see this in men all the time. And like, I know this from my own personal experience, once again, is that like I was able to get really far in my businesses through just like pushing, right? A lot of action oriented, action this, action that. And like, I got to do this. And I was programmed to think that like all of my abundance and all my success is coming from all these external actions, right? And to some level, that's true. Like you can grow a $10 million company like my brother that I was telling you about. Like he's done extremely well, and he's created this huge, beautiful company that is like doing insane things. Honestly, I'm not going to go too into his story because he would like to remain anonymous in this, but like his company is literally fundamentally changing the way that people are going to be doing agriculture. It's going to fundamentally change the food supply chain forever. Mark my words, I guarantee it. Now, he's got this super ambitious mission, this super ambitious drive, this super ambitious vision. It's fucking beautiful. It's amazing. Now, he's kind of now at this point though where he's stuck. He's like, "Oh shit, like how do I continue growing? Like how do I get to the next level?" And so, like, what I've been telling him is, like, dude, you gotta like meditate and actually put yourself into what I refer to as the receiving mode, or the replenishing mode, or the receptive mode. Because, like, this is like the balance of male female. And hold on, I'm just gonna have to pause this for a sec. All right, so I kind of can't remember where I was, but basically what I was saying is that um meditation is super important for manifesting financial abundance. Creates safety, creates security, and activates the parasympathetic nervous system, where we can actually begin to create and like watch our desires come into reality. Um, yeah. There's a lot to this. I mean, and so that's why I wanted to just put this together, get my ideas out. This is kind of a general like summary of what of a lot of energetic abundance is about. There's like more specifics on the there's more specifics on like how to actually manifest your desires within the course that I'm teaching called Energetic Abundance, including sex kung fu, which is basically a form of, I'm going to go ahead and say, semen retention for men, and orgasmic pleasure for females. And like the importance of that, and in relating to sensation and pleasure for the sake of manifesting like a lot of money or anything that you want to be, do, or have. So I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap it up here, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate the importance of energetics because like what I see with all these entrepreneurs, I have tons of friends growing their businesses, right? And I myself have even hit a wall in my own experience in my own life, and like I know these concepts. I've used them. I've used them to make me millions of dollars, to be honest, and they fucking work is the thing. And like like if you break down anyone who's ever been successful at anything or a high performing, high level athlete, right? Like at the end of the day, if you actually ask them what is going on, how they're so successful, and how they do what they do, like even if they think it's like all the technical skills that they know, if you look at their mindset and the way that they perceive themselves and the way that they perceive their actions in the world, it all comes down to this simple, like basic, like knowingness of their intention and using like their mental programming to create the experience in the quantum field ahead of time so that like they're preparing their bodies to be relaxed in this state of creation where they are actually achieving and acquiring what it is that they want. So I really hope this helped. And, I'm going to be posting a lot more videos here in the near future. But like I said, this is kind of like my brain dump. This is like, I want to be teaching this, and energetic abundance is going to be going live soon. I'm going to have a ton of updates about it coming up. But like for now, I'm just building the foundations and the introductory framework for which that energetic abundance can thrive on. So I hope you enjoyed this. And, you know, like I said, I'm a Reiki master. If you're interested in doing any healings between now and then, it's actually a great way to clear the old subconscious thought programs, and like we can work with some of the subconscious thought patterns that are dominating your current reality. We can actually break some of those down in Reiki, and we can heal your relationship to money and heal your relationship to yourself and heal the subconscious thought patterns that are dominating your uh, mindset, and like really create space for this abundance to flow in through. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you very soon.